Elgton Jenkins is not working with the team right now in the offseason. And if he's mad about his contract, and that's a big if, he's right to be worried about his future in Green Bay.
You are Locked On Packers, your daily Green Bay Packers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Packers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Peter Bukowski, and I cover the Packers for The Leap, a newsletter I would love for you to subscribe to. Follow me on Twitter, Peter_Bukowski. Follow the podcast on Twitter, Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find podcasts, you will find Locked On Packers, the #1 Packers podcast on the internet, and the show for fans who know what happened, they want to know why and how. Thanks to everyone who makes Locked On Packers their first listen every day. We hope you like starting your day with us as much as we like starting our day with you. Elgton Jenkins, not part of the offseason program right now. Packers offensive coordinator Adam Stenavich asked about this, said he believes Elgton Jenkins is open to playing center and that him not being with the team right now is not related to the question of whether or not Elgton Jenkins is going to be a center. This is not quite the level of Jaire Alexander weird, but this is getting weird. Because Brian Gutekunst said on the record that they want Elgton Jenkins to play center. And they signed Aaron Banks for a lot of money. Now that's likely if this is contractual, and I'm going to speculate here for a reason. If this is contractual, if that's the reason Elgton Jenkins is not at camp, I get it. And I'm on his side. Like, I don't just get it. I don't just understand. I'm with him. You are paying Aaron Banks for the next 4 years, and you don't want to commit to me, a Pro Bowl caliber guard, the stabilizing force in your offensive line, essentially since I showed up when you drafted me in the second round in 2019. I have been a rock for this organization. I played multiple positions. I played out of position. I've done everything you asked me to do. And I know going into 2026 that I'm going to save you $20 million on the cap if I get cut. And now you want me to change positions to make me potentially less valuable to teams out there, because as a center, first of all, there's only 32, and second, the guards are the positions that teams are paying, not centers. Not that good centers aren't valuable and aren't getting paid, but it's guards that are making $20-25 million a year right now. If I'm Elgton Jenkins, I have every reason to go, no, you don't get to pay Aaron Banks and not take care of me. The good news for Elgton Jenkins is, for all the reasons I just discussed, for the cost on the cap, it makes sense for the Packers to extend him, to find a way to say, hey, look, we hear you. Here's some money. The problem with that is you got to pay Zach Tom too. So how do you balance all of these things? The Packers rarely hand out third extensions. Or third contracts, second extension. So you have your rookie contract, you get an extension. The Packers are loath to give that third deal. You have to be a special kind of player to get it. I think Elgton Jenkins falls into that Chad Clifton category. He's younger, much younger than Chad Clifton was when Chad got a third contract in Green Bay. So I think from that standpoint, it makes sense. But if you want me to move to center and give up some value for when you might cut me in a year, then I want some assurances. I want to get paid. And if I'm the Packers, I would consider doing that. The problem is there is all of this potential trickle down. So, okay, let's say Jordan Morgan wins the left tackle job this year, which I do think is the Packers' preferred outcome. You've got Rasheed Walker as a swing tackle, and then he hits the market. You're going to get a monster comp pick for him because he's going to get $20 million in the open market. I mean, 15 at least, but probably 20, given what some of these guys got. Sean Ryan's probably going to hit the open market. You would think that's where Anthony Belton could slide in. And then you've got Zach Tom locked up. Aaron Banks is already locked up. And then you've got Elgton Jenkins. The Packers have shown a willingness to go into a year, even a year they think they can win the Super Bowl, with a rookie playing center. You go back to 2014, they use a 5th round pick, not even a high pick, a 5th round pick on Corey Linsley. He starts from day one on a team that could have won the Super Bowl and didn't not win because of Corey Linsley. And then, coincidentally, Corey Linsley out the door. And now you get Josh Myers, 2021, in a year where you can win the Super Bowl. You got a rookie day one starter at center. So the Packers have shown a willingness to say, we like our guards, we like our tackles. Let's go. There's another option here. Just walk with me for a second. Let's say Jordan Morgan wins that left tackle job. Rasheed Walker walks. Aaron Banks is your starting left guard. What if Anthony Belton is your future right tackle? And Zach Tom becomes your future center? Does that work? What complicates that is you're still short. You're still short of body. So, okay, if you let Elgton Jenkins go, you don't have a center. Well, if you let Anthony Belton play right tackle, because I think he can be a tackle in the NFL, and you move Zach Tom to center, well, now you don't have a right guard because Sean Ryan. So if the point is you don't want to be paying more than 3 of these guys at once, or really it could be the case that if Morgan and Belton are going to be your starters, and then you let Elgton Jenkins walk and you draft somebody, you could only be second contracting 2 of your 5 offensive linemen. I don't get the impression, though, that the Packers want to skimp at offensive line. That's not what the last 2 years suggest. A 1st round pick and a 2nd round pick on offensive linemen. They've already handed out a 2nd contract to Elgton Jenkins. I anticipate them handing out a 2nd contract to Zach Tom. So regardless of where Zach Tom is going to play, he's going to get a new deal. So they're loading up for bear here. This is not about, they're not going to put assets into it. This is not the Seahawks where they're just like, figure it out. That's not what's the history here tells us. So I would be surprised if they're like, well, we can just ham and egg it. I don't think it is unreasonable for Elgton Jenkins to say, you just paid this guy who is objectively worse than me and probably projects to be worse than me at my spot over the next 3 years. Like, imagine your company hired someone to do your job and said, we want you to do this other adjacent job. And we're going to pay them more money than we were paying you, even though, let's say you work in sales, your sales numbers were and are likely to continue to be better. You'd be going, excuse me, no, give me a raise. Now, I don't know that that's what's happening, okay? But that would make sense given everything I just laid out and given that he's not at OTAs. I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, so I'm not going to speak for Elgton Jenkins, but if that's the reason he's gone, I get it. He's right. But we have to start planning for these eventualities to think, okay, what could the Packers' plan here be? And so what makes sense in terms of outcomes? We got hit with a bunch of stuff this week, news-wise. And something that came out of nowhere was this conversation between Brian Gutekunst and Drew Rosenhaus, Jayden Reed's agent, about Jayden Reed's role on the team. What is happening here? We'll talk about it next on Locked On Packers. The NBA playoffs are in full swing and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. Maybe get those Dallas Mavericks futures in. Cooper Flagg set to become a Maverick. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. If you've got a read on who's heating up, why not back it with the same game parlay? Combine live prop bets mid-game based on how the action unfolds. Plus $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet hits. New to FanDuel? It's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. On a day when Shams Charania dropped a nugget that shook the sports world, Adam Schefter just casually dropping this little nugget. Packers GM Brian Gutekunst met last week with Jaden Reed's agent, Drew Rosenhaus, to clarify the wide receiver status in Green Bay after the team drafted Matthew Golden and Savion Williams. The team said it will not affect Reed's status as its top receiver, per source. It's not hard to figure out who the source is in this. Drew Rosenhaus went to Adam Schefter to say, we talked to Brian Gutekunst and Jayden Reed is still the guy in Green Bay. Now, whether or not Brian Gutekunst actually said that is a different thing entirely. But this is interesting for a number of reasons. Let's assume Brian Gutekunst did say this. What was the impetus for the conversation? Who reached out to who? If this is, and the answer to that question, by the way, is incredibly important. Because if Brian Gutekunst called Drew Rosenhaus and said, hey, Drew, listen, we really like Jayden Reed. Don't worry about it. Or let's just say they're talking about something else. They're talking about a different player. And Drew says, hey, what's the deal with this? But this was, they met last week. That means whether it's Zoom, in person, they had a sit down to talk about Jayden Reed's future, or that they did at some point talk about Jayden Reed's future. The way that the report is phrased, it is meant to imply that was the purpose for the meeting. But let's say Brian Gutekunst reached out. That gives a very different connotation than if Drew Rosenhaus reached out. Because if Brian Gutekunst is reaching out to Jayden Reed's agent to say, look, don't worry. Tell your guy not to worry. We got him. He's still the focal point of our offense. We needed some help. And Christian Watson going to be a free agent. Romeo Doubs going to be a free agent. Like, you get it. This is business. We had to backfill. We really like these guys, but we really, really like Jayden Reed. Okay. That's one potential option. Or Drew Rosenhaus called Brian Gutekunst, representing Jayden Reed, and went, hey, Goody, WTF. What's going on? Like, we're gonna start talking contract extension here like pretty soon. In the next year, probably. And so what's happening? We thought we were in a good space here. We thought we had a number one receiver and it's my guy. What's going on? He's not happy about this. That would be decidedly less good. Now, it could also be that Drew Rosenhaus is doing his fiduciary duty to his client to figure out, hey, what's your plan? What's your plan for Jayden Reed? Is he in your long-term plans? Because if he's not, let's figure something out. Maybe a trade is something that makes sense for everybody. I frankly don't think it is. But that's certainly something that if you're Drew Rosenhaus and you want to flex a little bit muscle, you could bring up. You could just float. Hey, look, if you don't want him, like I'm sure there's a lot of teams out there that would want to take him. Now, the good news here is that the resolution, according to whomever told Adam Schefter, whoever that could have possibly been named Drew Rosenhaus who did that, they left with the impression that Jayden Reed was good, at least in the eyes of the team. Here's what I'm trying to figure out. Why? Why is this being leaked now? Why, if you're Drew Rosenhaus, are you calling Adam Schefter to tell him this or texting him or whatever? Why? Who does it help? What's the value of doing this? What's the value of putting it out there? Hey, look, Jayden Reed's going to be the number one guy. Jayden Reed is under contract in 2025 and 2026. So what are we doing here? Like, what is the value of leaking this story? Like, I'm sure these kinds of conversations happen all the time. Andrew Brandt has had a lot of time over the years talking about how annoyed Bus Cook was, Brett Favre's agent, and what's going on with, Aaron Rodgers' agent and the anger on those sides. And front office people have to spend a lot of time pacifying agents because their players are pissed. We don't know if Jayden Reed is pissed or slightly irritated or what. Now, you may recall the receivers did not love some of the comments that Josh Jacobs was making about needing a number one receiver. This is whether Jayden Reed is pissed about this or not. And I don't know. The question was there enough that the GM, not Russ Ball, not, some lieutenant, the GM met with the agent to smooth something over, to let everyone know we're all good. That's nice that happened, and hopefully everyone can move forward. But the fact that you get to that space suggests the potential for disruption. Not disruption, but discontentment. Notice I didn't say malcontent because we don't know. That has a much more inflammatory connotation, and I don't want to go there because by all accounts, Jayden Reed is a really, really good guy. Great teammate when Keon Coleman was there at Michigan State. He's continued to play great. And the last 2 years, when Jayden Reed has shared the spotlight with all these guys, he's been one of the leaders of this team. Presumably that will continue. Now, Matthew Golden does not really be I assume Matthew Golden is coming here to be a boundary receiver mostly. We'll play in the slot sometimes. Now, Savion Williams, a little bit different. He may be a slot player. And so that may be the kind of thing where you go, hey, look, what's the deal here exactly? This is not 2014 when you've got Jordy Nelson and you draft Devontae Adams when you already have Randall Cobb. Those three players are complementary in their skill sets. Matthew Golden and Jayden Reed are complementary for sure. I don't know if you're Jayden Reed, if you're going, hey, Savion Williams, this guy it's probably going to do a lot of the same things that I do, a lot of the schemed up touches that I get, a lot of the slot reps that I get, the push passes, the jet sweeps, the schemed up slide routes into the boundary where I have blockers out front. Those are Savion Williams plays. Am I going to keep getting them? And there is this question about number one receivers. If we are having it, guess who's having it? Jayden Reed with his family, his friends, his boys. Dontavian Wicks with his family, his friends, his circle of people, whoever it is. Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson, they're all having these discussions. Do you think that they're immune because they act like some players, I'm not saying they specifically, players act like they're above the fray? Give me a break. Give me a break. They see everything. And if they don't see it, someone they know sees it, and then they bring it up to the player. Guys, enough has happened over the last few years. Anyone that has been following this show for long enough knows. A year less. And the players hear the things that get said on this show, that get said on social media. They know. They know. So they are not immune from the quote unquote discourse either. Just because they're good teammates, good soldiers, whatever it is. Hey, I'm a team first guy. Doesn't mean, hey, I'm not a little worried about what's going on here. Let me know that I'm good. And again, the ultimate outcome of this apparently is that the meeting was left with the impression that Jayden Reed is still going to be the top target. Now, my guess would be Brian Gutekunst did not say that Brian Gutekunst said, hey, look, we love Jayden. He's going to continue to be a focal point of our offense. And then Drew Rosenhaus, hey, Adam. Yeah, I talked to Goody. I know this is a weird situation, but like, we're good. Jayden Reed's still going to be wide receiver 1. I doubt that's I doubt that's what was said. Not imputing anybody's reporting. I believe that Drew Rosenhaus said that. I just don't believe that that's what actually happened. That just doesn't seem like a Brian Gutekunst thing to have happened. A couple weeks ago, maybe a week or so ago, 10 days, I mentioned the amount of pressure on Matt LaFleur to keep this team together, to keep this locker room together. This is another piece of that. And Jordan Love, this is another piece of that. Of his leadership, of Josh Jacobs, the next step that he can take in his evolution as a leader. It'd be another reason to make Elgton Jenkins happy real quick, real fast, because he's a leader on this team. For Tucker Kraft to elevate himself. Frankly, for Jayden Reed to feel like I'm taking ownership of this. We've got these young players. I'm going to be the guy that steps up, that proves my worth. That's what you'd want to see if you're a coach. That's what you'd want to see if you're a GM. But it's going to take everybody. It's going to take all of the cliches, pulling the rope in the same direction, rowing the boat together, all of the cliches. It's going to take all of it because the NFC is really good. And everyone's got to be bought into what they're doing. And so if there are any guys who are not 100% bought in, look, we had the report. Albert Breer put it out there. It was just a little nugget, but not a throwaway by any means. Hey, the Packers already seeing everything they wanted from Matthew Golden, the athleticism, plays. Keep an eye on the Packers. They may be willing to part with a veteran receiver. Now, who knows? Maybe Drew Rosenhaus is just seeing these reports and he's getting the, hey, Romeo Doubs could be on the move. Dontavian Wicks could be on the move. The Packers could be interested in trading. He knows what's happening around the league too. He may just want to make sure, hey, like, you're not considering trading Jayden, right? Oh, no. We would never. We love Jayden. He's our guy. Could just be that. We don't know. But it's a great drama. A melodrama sometimes even. Sports, it's better than any soap opera could come up with. Speaking of, what in the hell is going on with Jaire Alexander? I know I said we wouldn't talk about it, but then Jeff Hafley added fuel to the fire. What is going on? Thanks for making Locked On Packers your first listen. For your second listen, check out Locked On NFL Scouting. The NFL draft is over, but the roster moves and news never stop. Host Kyle Krabs and Joe Marino will take you and make you the most informed NFL fan you can be this offseason. Find Locked On NFL Scouting on YouTube or wherever you get podcasts. Guys, I really, and this is not Stephen A. Smith. I didn't want to talk about this thing that I started, right? But Jeff Hafley was asked about what getting Jaire Alexander back would potentially mean for the defense. And Jeff Hafley is one of those coaches who takes every opportunity to give you the longest, floweriest, most in-depth answer he can possibly give you. He wants to be your best friend every time you ask a question. And I love that about him. And he's going to be a head coach sooner than later, in part because his ability as a communicator, as a charismatic explainer of football is going to make one of these owners fall in love with him. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. So he was asked this question. And his answer was, I think we'll leave that up to see what happens rather than talk in hypotheticals. That's it. He didn't say, what he could have said was, hey, I had a great time coaching Jaire Alexander. He's a terrific football player. We'll see where that goes. Or something like that. Hey, there's things going on here that are above my pay grade. But I love Jaire Alexander. He's a great player. And, if he's here, great. And if he's not, great. It's not what was said. And this is almost exactly what Matt LaFleur said when he was asked about Jaire Alexander. A lot of, we'll see. A lot of equivocating, a lot of shoulder shrugging, a lot of obfuscation. That has been the tone that the team has struck all offseason. All offseason. They have done the tone has been like when David Bakhtiari, everyone knew it was over. That's been the tone. And yet, the reporting is, Tom Silverstein is the outlier. But then since the Tom Silverstein reporting, we had Rob Domofsky and Tom Silverstein within 24 hours reporting opposite things. And then Jeremy Fowler and Peter Schrager. Last week we talked about their reporting on, okay, it looks like there's a resolution coming here. It's trending toward he's going to stay in Green Bay. If that's the case, why are they talking like this? And what feels very coordinated, like PR got involved, like team communications got involved to say, look, just say nothing. Like what is happening? I don't understand it. If he's, as the public reporting right now, from like Jeremy Fowler and Peter Schrager are plugged in. Peter Schrager said, I don't feel like I'm betraying Matt LaFleur's confidence, quoting from a dinner that they had. Like this is not some BSer out here. This is Peter Schrager talking about a dinner he had with the freaking coach, where the coach said, we're in a really good place with Jaire Alexander. But the quotes from the coach to the media on the record are, we'll see. That's it. Not, hey, you know what? We love Ja. And, that stuff's got to get figured out. And then we'll go from there. None of that. None of that. It's very weird. It's very weird. I wanted to come in on the show and talk about the schedule. I wanted to talk about the Packers playing on the Saturday before Christmas, which suggests they're going to be playing on Christmas because that's what happened last year. They're going to Chicago, December 20th. They're probably going to host the Christmas game. If last year's any indication, it will be Packers Commanders this year. Now it could be Packers Eagles with the Washington getting 2 home games and Philly getting 2 road games. But last year, the 2 teams that played on the road on Saturday hosted on Thursday. That can't happen this year because Eagles Bears is already on Black Friday. My guess is they're not going to make the Eagles play a short week on Black Friday, short week on Saturday, and then a short week on Christmas after they won the Super Bowl. That would be bizarre. I suppose it's not impossible. It seems unlikely. I wanted to spend 8 minutes talking about that, but I'm here because what the hell? Like I'm sick of talking about it, but there's something new every day. There's some piece of this. Someone adds some sort of fuel to the fire, and I got to do this all over again, and I don't want to. I really genuinely, and maybe you'll believe me and maybe you won't, but I don't want to. I didn't want to talk about it 2 weeks ago. I want this to be over. I want him to either be gone or in Green Bay. And it's still the case that the thing that makes the most sense is for him to stay in Green Bay, take a pay cut, get a bunch of per game bonuses, go make a bunch of money, and then, hopefully, and then go hit free agency. But if the Packers are negotiating a pay cut, it's still weird to be this awkward about it in the media. Like, you could still praise the guy. It's like they think if they offer any praise that somehow hurts their leverage, or it's the same as it's always been, and they really are just like done. But if they're just done, then just cut him or trade him for nothing. I'm sure you could have gotten like something close to nothing, like a 6th round pick, 7th round pick. I don't know. I don't know why it has to be this way. Why does it have to be this way? Guess that's Guess that's just the Packers way. I don't know. I really don't. That's bad radio. It's bad podcasting to say that, but it's the truth. This has been a weird situation for 6-8 months now. And I wish I had better answers for you, but I don't. I want to actually talk about the schedule. I want to talk about the stuff, the football. We're not there yet. Back tomorrow. Jason Hirschhorn going to be on the show this week. UDFA Prospectus is out. You guys loved it. A lot to talk about with this group, and they just signed a quarterback. So a lot more to talk about as well. Follow me on all the social medias. Follow the podcast on all the social medias. Twitter, Blue Sky, X, whatever. Instagram, TikTok. Subscribe to the podcast wherever you get podcasts, on YouTube, so you can stay locked on Packers.